All right, so thanks again for doing this. First things first, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the disability community.
Excellent. So I'm Trish. I am an occupational therapist. I have been practicing since 2019, July, I think was when I got my first job. Um, and so I've been doing this for, I guess, 5 years now. This is year five. Um, I got started in occupational therapy when I was young. So I think so often like exposure is the best thing for kids to figure out what you want to do because by 18 nobody knows what they want to do. And so I was um I was doing volunteer service hours for high school, and if I did like double or if I did my community service at a hospital, I got double the hours. And so I was like, "Oh, absolutely." And so long story short, I ended up being randomly placed in the rehab department, and I was following along, observing a physical therapist. I was 13. Um, I was following a physical therapist, and one day that therapist was doing wound care, and my little sensitive 13-year-old stomach just couldn't handle it. So they put me with the occupational therapist. And I remember like folding laundry and tossing a ball back and forth and just doing a lot of like what I know now as functional activities. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want to do this forever. And then as school went on, I was just really good at science. I didn't start school off very strongly. Um, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but as occupational therapy continued to kind of show itself to me, I would start taking the classes and I did better in school. And so when I realized when I started to enjoy what I was learning, and um, it just all made sense. So that's kind of how I got into occupational therapy. It showed itself to me at a very young age, um, which I'm super grateful for and lucky for because a lot of people aren't afforded the opportunity. Um, and so yeah, so that's how I found OT, and then I just went through the all the things to get into school, and then graduated, and here I am.
Yep, that's cool. So if I could get into like what your current role is as an occupational therapist, I would like to explore that a little bit because OT it's so broad.
So broad, right? Like it's an entire spectrum. I could work with children, I could work with geriatrics, which is what I do. But yeah, it's like the broadest spectrum for a career field. It's wild. So what I do is I'm a travel occupational therapist. So I don't have my full-time job is going to different parts of this country and different settings. So right now I've been very drawn to the acute care setting, the hospital setting. Um, so right now I'm in Yuma, Arizona on an assignment here until the end of September at the Yuma Regional Hospital. And so as an acute care occupational therapist, what I mainly focus on and look at is somebody's ability to take care of themselves with whatever illness or disability that they're having. So a big difference when I like to talk about, disabled versus sick people. I think disability is something that you're born with that you kind of deal with your whole life versus a lot of people now and a lot of people that I see in the hospital are just sick. They're sick with, like some sort of organ dysfunction or metabolic disease, diabetes, cancer. And so they end up becoming disabled, but I kind of view those two communities as different because they were at one point very functional, healthy people. So health versus disabled, you can be disabled and very healthy. You know what I mean? Um, so I work with a lot of like sick people, also a lot of surgeries, like post-surgical patients, somebody older who's fallen and broken their hip or their shoulder, knees, a lot of orthopedic stuff. But my general focus in the hospital is independence. Where physical therapy is how are they walking? How are they getting from point A to point B? Um, I look at a lot of safety in their mobility, but also, are they able to put on their pants? Are they able to put on their underwear? Are they able to get up and down and take care of themselves on the toilet? And so I look at people with their illness or their disability in a kind of functional way, and just getting them to their highest quality of life and highest level of independence.
Yeah. As a follow-up, what do you do from your perspective as an occupational therapist, to make sure that individuals with disabilities have the autonomy, independence, freedom, if you will, to do things that they want to do?
So for me, it's a lot of listening. One thing that I've found that I've experienced in my career is oftentimes with healthcare workers, when somebody comes to us with a disability, I think there's a tendency to lean towards this person constantly needs help. And I think I think a lot of disabled people live a very independent life. It's just modified. Their independence looks very different from my independence versus, the next person's independence. All of our levels of independence look different. And so for me, it's a lot of listening, and I kind of have to take a step back from what I think is best for the person and listen to them and what they know is best for themselves. Because I don't know, like you and I right now, I just met you a few moments ago. um I don't know what your life is like. You probably live a very outstanding life, but if you came to me in the hospital, there are certain assumptions that I think all people make. And so for me, it's a priority to step away from what I think and actively listen to what somebody is telling me they can do. And it happens a lot with old people too. I think we're all like, oh my God, don't fall. And and they're like, I got this. I do this all the time at home. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, because a lot of people that, especially caregivers, they're like, if they're handling like a first time patient, they're like, oh my God, what do I do? You know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it can be very terrifying at first, and so that's why I just think it's important to talk to somebody so that you're on the same page, like, just so that, I don't know. I mean, I've learned that I can step away and let somebody show me something versus like being right there. I think we all
Yeah.
prepare for the worst. Um, and so just kind of managing that in a way that's kind of like safe and makes everybody feel heard and understood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My next question is, what impact does occupational therapy have not just on yourself, but in the disability community? The reason I ask this is because I've had guests talk about their own personal experiences with a family member, caregiver, loved one. And, yeah, just kind of like, what experiences have you had as an occupational therapist from your perspective and in the disability community? Like, what stories have you heard from patients that have really come to you and received your services?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Say the question again.
Yeah, the first part was like, what impact does your work as an occupational therapist have not just on yourself but also in the disability community? And like, what have you heard from patients, who have come to you for, occupational therapy?
Um, the first word that comes to me is empowerment, and it's on both ends. I feel um, I've worked with people who, I'm trying to think of a specific example. I recently I was in Washington, and I had a man who, in his 70s or so, broke his hand in a few places. There's a tear here, a break here, a sprain here. Um, and this is a wild mountain man. So he's got a beard, he's got long hair. I was putting some like kinesiology tape on his arm, and I had commented about his arm hair, and he goes, well, he had said that I had called him a Sasquatch, and so that ended up being his name throughout our time working together was Sasquatch. And so like for instance, getting him being able to working with his hand enough to hold the brush to brush his beard was so monumental for him. He thought he was going to have to do everything with his left hand. He really didn't have a lot of hope for his right hand. And so I think for me, it's empowering to watch him achieve that goal. And for him, it's empowering to be able, that's one small task that he's now able to do by himself, or, you know, in a way that he's used to. And so I think that's kind of the best answer to that question is empowerment on both ends. It's really like validating for me as a professional when I see somebody make progress because they're listening to me, they're trusting me, my guiding and my judgment calls on each of their interventions that I'm working on with them. And then, so it's validating for me, but I mean, more importantly for me, it's validating for the individual that I'm working with, because that's a step of progress for them. That's a little glimmer of hope that they might not have had at first.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. My last question, I guess, in this conversation is how can occupational therapy, like create better outcomes for people with disabilities? And also like what can um occupational therapy students learn from your kind of work? What can they sort of take away?
I mean, I think really to be an occupational therapist, and really this applies, I think, generally to a lot of healthcare workers, is we're all people's people. We all, our biggest goal in I mean, I'll speak for myself specifically, is to help people, to heal people, to be a part of the process of somebody getting from where they are to where they want to be, whatever that looks like for them in that moment. And so I think it's super important for me oftentimes to kind of take a step back away from myself. And it makes me a better professional because I'm able to talk with somebody on their level, like kind of get into their present world and step away from my present world and see the world from their perspective. And so I think active listening, especially for students, I heard that a lot in OT school, active listening, but it really is so important to step away from everything that you think, that you feel, that you believe, and to listen to the individual in front of you that's telling you, because that's when that's when the magic of OT has always happened for me. I think our biggest goal throughout the entire lifespan, whether you're working with babies, kids, preschoolers, adults, geriatrics, hospice care, everything in between, the goal is always highest quality of life, right? And so but you really can't understand and get to highest quality of life unless you're in that person's shoes. My version of highest quality of life for you is different than your version of highest quality of life for you. So it's really that skill of being able to step away from me and closer to you.
Hmm. Meeting people where they're at, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.